over the weekend, I got a chance to sit down and really dig my teeth into Ghost Recon Wildlands. Shout out to Ubisoft for giving me a review copy. I know I have been on the opposite end of, I'm sure, what they want me to be on in terms of supporting this title. I've been very critical of the game over and over and over. You guys know it. We have a long history with Ghost Recon Wildlands. That history, up until a couple of weeks ago when we got access to the betas, that was all hands off. It was all based on trailers. It was all based on what the information that Ubisoft was passing along to the consumers. We were talking about it. That changes now. I was able to really dig my teeth in, play in multiple provinces throughout the map, and I was able to get a sense of what Ghost Recon actually is. Keep in mind, guys, I am not completed the game yet. There's not enough time during the weekend to actually sit down and play through this game in its entirety. It is a big game. I believe them when they say that it is the biggest open world experience that they have to offer. Let's talk about that first. The overarching story for Ghost Recon Wildlands is basically you are a team of 4 ghosts infiltrating Bolivia to take down the Santa Blanca cartel, who have basically taken over the country. They have politicians, they have radio personalities, they have police, they have their own army. They run the country, and you are there dismantling their operation one person at a time. So you're going through this web of people trying to get to the main boss. His name is El Sueño. We've seen him in multiple trailers. He's the guy with all the tattoos and shit on his face. He is an evil dude running an evil operation, and it's your job to take it out. That's one thing that I do like about this game. Let's start with that. The lore and the plot surrounding the game, cartels and narcos and people, the security and the production of the drugs and all that stuff. I love stories like this. I'm a huge fan of Narcos. I love reading up on stuff like Pablo Escobar, and I feel like there is a lot of influence from those stories from people in the past, real stories being put into the plot. But when you actually get into the game and you start going after some of the people in the chain of command and taking out bosses and working your way towards the finale, it's very shallow. And what I mean by that is you basically you gather intel in every province that you visit. Basically, every person you're trying to track down in this web has their own province. So you go to a province, you collect a bunch of intel, and then you get the story missions from said intel. You do all the story missions, and then you confront the boss. If you guys played the betas, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically that structure in every place that you go. The videos that they have playing in between some of the intels and the missions, trying to set up the finale of each province, the videos are cool. The narration is done by El Sueño himself, who I really enjoy his narrative. Like his voiceover was phenomenal. He actually reminded me of Kingpin from Daredevil, just the way he talks. He has that slow, kind of more methodical, smooth sounding voice, but he's evil, right? So I like listening to him. But when he tells the story and you get to the end, there's no connection with you and any of the characters that you're tracking down. So you get to El Muro, you get to El Pozolero, the guy who was like, acid washing bodies away in barrels. You get to these guys and that's it. You either kill them or you capture them, and there's no connection. There's no epic showdowns. There's just nothing. You can just snipe them from a mile away and just be done, and that's it. The thing pops up, you move on to the next province, and that's it. There's something to be desired there, especially when you have such great source material to work with and you have such a great plot and a great outline. You could have done so much more with the story elements of all of these characters, but you didn't. Playing through, I just assumed that the story was going to start off a little bit slower, and we got to a point in the story, without really spoiling, even though there's not really much to spoil, you get to a point where one of the persons that you're trying to chase down is actually somebody that you served with in the army like years prior. And I thought that would have been such a great twist and a great kind of a lead up to an epic showdown. Former army mates. It could be so great. Your teammate is now Breaking Bad, working for the cartel. So it's going to lead to an epic collision between your past self and your present self. Do you do you kill somebody that you served with and you know that they could be, you know, that's not who they are. There's such a struggle there. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then you just walk up and shoot them, and that's it. That's it. It's just the same as every other engagement with every other boss. I was like, when I did it, I was so fucking pissed off. There was such a missed opportunity there for a really good story plot that they just skipped over for shallow engagement gameplay. There was nothing. There was no connection, even though in my mind I was so into that story plot, and then it was just nothing. And then it's just the same thing over and over. There's no connections with anybody that you're killing. They could be just another grunt, and that's it. And to me, it didn't seem epic in that sense. You see the trailers and they're showing off all this epic explosions and gameplay, but the underlying plot and the narrative of the game is just not really there. And that's unfortunate. Now, we talked earlier about the fact that I didn't have enough time in the weekend to complete the game. I got the code on Friday. I was working all day. I got home. I basically started the game because I had to re-download the entire game. I started it Saturday morning. I put 10 hours in on Saturday, and I got about 11 and a half hours in the game right now, and I'm halfway through the game, which sounds pretty decent, right? When you think, okay, so if you're halfway through now, each province basically takes about an hour to complete. So if you think there's 21 provinces, you're looking at 21 to 23 hours to complete the game. That being said, usually in games, when you hear 23 hours, it's usually a pretty good thing. Wow, that's a lot of content. The majority of this game is flying or driving. The absolute vast majority of this game is traveling from point A to point B. There is fast travels that you can use, but when you're entering new provinces, you have to explore them and unlock the intel and the locations by going to the provinces. So you're flying from one province to another. Sometimes they're, you know, across the way, unless you have a fast travel point, you have to fly there. So it's a lot of helicopter flying. The helicopter controls are still god awful. But there's a lot of travel in the game, and I feel like, going back to the conversations we had earlier about open world and how it wasn't needed, the open world adds absolutely nothing to the experience for me. It's literally me flying over mountains or riding bikes down roads. There's nothing there. If they would have stripped out the open world aspect and made it so you could just sign up to do side missions, and you spawn in and you steal a helicopter, or you spawn in and you have to defend a radio tower signal, stuff like that. Make it not open world and just have that accessible from a menu that you could just go in and spawn into these areas. The vast majority of my time is spent traveling the world and not doing anything. So you see 11 hours really could have been, I'm going to venture to say, 4.5 to 5 hours of actual missions and firefights, which isn't a good thing, regardless of what people think. A 22-hour campaign for this game is not a good thing, because there is a lot of downtime and there is a lot of just traveling the land. And like I said from day one, it's absolutely unnecessary. That being said, when you're traveling the land and you're flying the helicopter over these huge, like, lush mountains, the game actually looks not bad. It looks better from up in the air than it does when you're on the ground. And then when you combine that with the weather effects, the shit looks mwah. Like, I'm kind of impressed that I didn't see the downgrade that I thought I would. It's definitely downgraded from those very first trailers that we saw way back in the day, but it's definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So kudos on that. The weaponsmith makes a return here, but the biggest issue that I have, obviously the system for replacing parts and customization it's always been cool. It's good here. The only issue that I have with it is when you defeat a boss in a province, you unlock skills and you unlock weapons for that province. So if you remember in the beta, you could unlock the M4A1, and you could also unlock the his and her AKs, and you can unlock a bunch more weapons as you play through the game, but you can't customize them, which I thought was kind of shitty because I unlocked the M4A1 Tactical as a semi-auto M4, and I thought it was really good, but I wanted to put a grenade launcher on it, and the only thing it gives you the option to is to like look at the weapon. You can rotate it and look at it, but you can't actually like customize any of those weapons you unlock from defeating the provinces, which I thought is kind of redundant because those weapons are actually really good. The AK has the scope, and I believe it has a grip on it. It's really fucking dope, but you can't do anything else to it. So I don't understand what the point of unlocking weapons you can't customize if you have a system that's just based on building weapons. The weapon system is good. You can throw grenade launchers on weapons once you unlock them. By the way, the grenade launcher in the game is actually really fun to take down helicopters with. I will say that. I love when those fuckers try to fly at you. Let's talk about the helicopters, and more specifically the AI that is within these camps and how they are handled as you progress through the game. So basically, what happens is Ubisoft wants to promote this idea of basically choosing how you attack a base. You can choose to do stealth, and you can also choose to go in guns blazing. The issue that I have is, even if you were outside of the camp, if you shoot at somebody and let's say you miss a shot, and all of a sudden that dude looks around and he spots you, and there you go. Everyone in the camp is now notified of where you are. They're calling in helicopters. The helicopters know exactly where you are, even though you're sitting in a bush. Like, what? And they always know where you are. It's fucking ridiculously lazy programming on the AI's part. Even if you played at the higher difficulties, it's still like pinpoint accuracy. I know where you are. Everybody knows where you are. Instant fucking taneously. And after a while of trying to go in stealth, and you can do it. If you make every single shot count, you can go in, and I've done it multiple times. You can do these missions completely stealth. I just don't like how lazy the programming of the AI feels. Like all of a sudden, you're on one end of the camp, and actually in some missions, the camps are like multiple areas. So like you have one part of the city, the next part, and it's just like if you miss a shot here, the entire area knows where the fuck you are. And I just think it's kind of a cheap mechanic, especially if you want to promote going in your own way. It should be a bit more realistic in what the AIs can actually hear and see, instead of just this laser point, I know exactly your location and we are bombing the fuck out of you. The vehicle handling is still exactly like it was in the beta. There was talks of people like holding out in hopes that Ubisoft would fix the helicopter flight controls. Not at all. They're still terrible to fly, even on PC. It's just abysmal controls. The vehicles they handle so arcadey. You can be holding the W and you hit D to turn, and it'll turn on a dime on dirt roads, and it feels like you're just driving on a slip and slide. The helicopter controls are there's just nothing. You hold the shift and you hold W to go forward, and as you do it, your helicopter will tilt really far, and once you start tilting to like aim and go towards the ground, you let go of W, and now your throttle is just controlled off a shift. So now it's basically like you're not even flying, you're literally just holding the shift button going to your objective. It's just very casual, if that makes sense. The whole game feels like a bunch of missed opportunities that eventually just stack up, and you just wish that this was different and this mechanic was different, and you wish they did this, and eventually you start to realize that you're not enjoying the experience that they have provided. You're sitting there kind of enjoying or thinking about the experience that you wish they would have given you. People were critical of me before because I only played solo. You can obviously play this with 3 other players in a 4-player co-op. I honestly feel like if you are going to get this game, that is the only way to play. Even so, it's repetitive as hell. It's rinse and repeat. There's a lot of travel time for what really feels like an empty, barren wasteland of an open world. And it's unnecessary, and I said that from day one. Because this isn't a full review, I won't be giving it a numbered score. I feel like you guys could probably guess what I would give it. It's a mediocre, run-of-the-mill, not really enjoyable travel simulator with some shooting mechanics. And that's honestly how I feel. Just a bunch of missed opportunities. And with post content coming, like the 4v4 multiplayer we talked about in my previous Ghost Recon video, I wish I could talk about the stuff at launch. Unfortunately, it's not here. It's coming later, and I don't really know what to expect. So that's going to be a video that we're going to talk about once the 4v4 drops. But as of right now, guys, I got to say that I'm a little disappointed, but a lot of the stuff that we talked about 8-9 months ago, last June, still prevalent today. My name is Big Fry. Shout out to the Fry Nation. Please, guys, if you were getting the game, don't think that this video is me trying to sway you guys away from it. It's really not. I have this channel so I could give my opinions on things. That's it. Like, if you guys could buy the game and get enjoyment out of it and get your money's worth, that's the best thing for everybody. You know, I'm not sitting here trying to not sell the game. I'm not trying to hurt their sales. I'm just trying to give you guys what I think, and that's it. You know, if you guys enjoy the game, I'm glad. Awesome. That's dope. That's you putting your money towards something that you feel is worthwhile. Do I feel that this is a different kind of a mistake to take the Ghost Recon franchise in this direction? I personally do. But if you don't, then put your money behind that. And that's all anybody can really ask, you know. If this game sells 2 million copies, then I guess this is where we're at. This is where we're going forward, and it's something that I would have to deal with, right? It is what it is. This is just my opinion, and I want to know your guys' down below. So use the keyword Wildlands in your comment. This was a long-ass video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you listened, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. My name is Big Fry. Shout out to the Fry Nation, and I'll see you on the next one.